My name is Chris, and this story happened to me last year when I was traveling with my dad across the United States. We were traveling in our RV. We were visiting Neyvada. And of course, we had to go and check out Area 51. By the time we got there, it was pretty late and quite dark out. So we thought we would just park the RV, sleep, and check it out in the morning. That night, I think around 1 a.m. my dad was asleep, and I was playing some games on my iPad when I heard some footsteps outside our RV. I took one of my earplugs out so I could listen better, and it sounded like someone was slowly pacing. I took a subtle peek through our blinds. It was pitch black, but you could kind of see something moving. I woke my dad up telling him someone is out there. He took a look out the window and then told me to get a flashlight. I asked him, "You're not going out there, are you?" In a concerned voice, of course. But my dad said, "We have to see what it is." Nervously, we both went outside. We shined our light towards the figure. It looked to be a man with his back toward us. My dad spoke out, "Hello?" No answer, or even any movement. My dad spoke again, "Hello, can you hear me?" As we slowly got closer, you could see the man was wearing some kind of gown, like a hospital gown that patients wear. The man was still unresponsive. We got close enough to tap him on the shoulder, and the man slowly turned around. He looked kind of pale as like a ghost, and his eyes were black, like they weren't even human. He stared right at us, and my dad stepped back in shock. Then we heard a noise. It was more footsteps. My dad shined his light in a direction, and what was right in front of us were more men in patient gowns, black eyes, looking right at us. Me and my dad ran back into the RV and drove as fast as we could away from Area 51. We spent the rest of the night in the motel we found. We never went back to Area 51 after that. My name is Dave, and I'm 22 years old, but this story happened about 3 years ago. I live in Las Vegas, but I've never been to Area 51. I had a friend of mine who said he's been there a couple of times, and even went past the perimeter. When I asked him what happens when you get past the line, he said some guards escort you away, basically. I'm not sure I even believed him or not. But he then asked me if I wanted to check it out with him. Like I said, I've never seen it, so I took him up on his offer. We drove out there late at night, and I think it was around 12:30 a.m. when we arrived. We got our flashlights out and had a look around. As I thought, there wasn't much to see. A few signs and barriers saying "do not cross," "photography is prohibited," that kind of thing. Then my friend said, "Shall we see what happens when we go past the barrier?" Stupidly, I said yes. So we crossed the barrier, and we stood there anxiously waiting for something to happen. But it didn't. I said to my friend, "Come on, let's head back." As soon as we turned around, there were two men shouting at us while pointing flashlights. At first, I didn't really hear what was being said. It was all really happening so fast, honestly. But the two men weren't speaking English. They were speaking what I thought to be Russian. And the flashlights, they were on the ends of two assault rifles. As soon as we saw this, my friend and I got on our knees and put our hands in the air, confused and scared, but we both looked at each other, both panicking inside. I looked up at their uniform, and they both had sewn on Soviet Union badges. They confirmed to me that they were Russian. After a few minutes of the two guards yelling at us, and us trying to explain that we weren't a threat, they spoke to each other. Of course, not knowing what was said, they grabbed us both and pushed us, basically telling us to leave the area. My friend and I got in our car and drove home as fast as we could, both of us freaking out. Really, we didn't understand what just happened. Later that night, once I got home, I calmed down. I started to think about what just happened. I came up with a few unnerving thoughts. Why were 2 Soviet Union soldiers inside Area 51? And what if Russians are working on something against the US? And have the Russians always been working in Area 51? After that night, I grew more intrigued about that place, but I always told myself to never go back to visit. My name is Todd, and this story happened a long time ago, during the 1960s. Me and my best friend Felix lived in Nevada, Las Vegas to be exact. I was working as an engineer at the time, and Felix had a job working in Area 51. We would meet up regularly, and of course, I always asked him about what he did and what it was like in Area 51. I never got much out of him, and he always said it's classified or he can't say. However, there is this one time where he did want to tell me something. It was July 22nd, 1969, 2 days after the initial moon landing. I received a phone call from Felix asking me if I watched the moon landing the other day, and I told him of course, who didn't. I'm not sure where he was calling from, but he said to me, "It's fake." I asked him what's fake. He said, "The moon landing is all a hoax. I saw it being filmed," he responded. What? Felix, I don't understand. What do you mean? He then said he can't talk and he'll meet up with me at my place later. And then the phone went dead. I was confused at what he said, but I thought I would just wait for him to come by and he can explain, but he never came. The next day, I tried to call him at his apartment, but I couldn't get through. I decided to drive over there. I knocked on his door, and to my surprise, a man answered, but it wasn't Felix. He asked me, "Can I help you?" I asked him, "Where's Felix?" He looked at me confused and told me there's no Felix and that he has lived there for over 10 years and shut the door on me. I was so confused I was losing my mind. Was I? I couldn't have got the wrong apartment. I've been visiting Felix here for years. I went downstairs to the front desk and asked for Felix's information. The woman looked at me like I was crazy and said, "They've never had that person here, and it's on none of their records." I never saw or heard from Felix ever again. It was like he just vanished and never existed. To this day, I believe whatever Phoenix was going to tell me about the moon landing being fake, it was true, and the government wanted to keep it a secret. I don't know what's going on at Area 51, but who knows? I know I would never mess with it, I would never go there, and I would never ask about it again. As a kid, I used to live in Nevada near Area 51. Our parents were in the military, so we lived on Nellis Air Force Base. My friends and I would always do crazy stuff, but one night in the summer between our 10th and 11th grade years, we decided to go camping out in the desert. We set up camp, then we got bored and decided to go near Area 51, of course. We packed up our stuff and started moving. We set up camp again near the border and started sneaking around like ninjas, but giggling like little girls. We came up on a boulder and began to hide behind it. Then out of nowhere, we saw a truck coming down the road without his lights on. So we stayed behind the boulder. Then the truck turned on his lights, his bright lights, and began speeding toward us, so we picked up and booked it. We got to the border and the truck stopped. We thought it was funny, and we went into our tents and we went to sleep. Then all of a sudden, I woke up from the sound of my cell phone ringing, but the weird thing is, I was in my room at home, and my friend called me asking what happened. None of us have any memories after we got back into our tents. Honestly, no more Area 51 adventures for us, and I advise you not to go there either.